Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Rothkoff, managing attorney of Rothkoff Law Group with offices both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. We are privileged to have today Sarah Biebel, who is the Director of Marketing and Sales at Senior Helpers in Southern New Jersey. And welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for the time. We've known each other for, it's probably been, I'm guessing, close to 10 years now.
Yep, just about, I think.
More. And you've been at Senior Helpers for 6 years. Can you give us a little about, we'll start with the basics of what territory do Senior Helpers cover and what type of individuals do you work with?
Sure. So Senior Helpers out of Cherry Hill, which is where I'm a community liaison, covers Camden, Gloucester, Salem, and Burlington County. But underneath our Senior Helpers umbrella and ownership under Kevin Herman, we actually also have the Manchester office, which covers Ocean County. We just purchased the Linwood office, which is Atlantic, Cape May, and Cumberland County. And then in PA, we also have Montgomery, Chester, and Delaware County out of Exton and Haverton offices too. So we cover quite a big territory in this area. So yeah, we're servicing seniors in all of those counties in both New Jersey and PA.
Wow, I learned something today because I just thought, well, now I know you pretty much have all counties in South Jersey covered at this point. And
yes.
Now you are, I was not aware you're handling southeastern PA, so I learned something.
Yeah, we have a big area.
So wonderful. So I know you've been with Senior Helpers for about 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, you did marketing in South Jersey assisted living communities. So
right.
You have a broad background in long-term care. But I'm trying to give our listeners kind of a feel of why people do what they do. You know, you
Sure.
can pick there's many areas to market, to engage in your professional expertise in marketing. Why did you choose long-term care specifically to work with seniors? What attracted you to this field?
Sure. So, I mean, first and foremost, I find that seniors really have led such amazing lives if we just listen to them and their stories. So I've always enjoyed spending time with seniors, whether it be grandparents or other loved ones, and listening to them reminisce and reflect on their lives. There's just so much that we can learn from listening to these stories, and it really saddens me that often they're ignored, and they're really not given a voice to tell their stories. So I sort of fell in love with this work to be an advocate for seniors and to make sure that they're getting the resources that they need. And being with Senior Helpers allows me to do that.
Wonderful. I mean, I think you need to bring that attitude into assisting seniors, because I think most people are in this field because it's more than a job.
Right.
If you want to refer to as a calling, however you want to refer to it as, that's why people, I think, get involved in. And I've been working with seniors for 20 years, and I would agree with you. I think the most important thing you can do is what you just said, whether you said that inadvertently or not, and that's to listen.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear you and what you have to offer and the services you provide and the expertise you bring to the table. But I think even more important is to shut up and listen.
Right.
Listen to the stories. We can learn a lot from the individuals that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
If once I learned to shut up, I've learned some fabulous stories and really insights into what their lives really were. They're coming to us now in their 80s and 90s, but that's not 100%.
Not their whole story.
Exactly. Hearing their stories, whether the wars they fought or how they met their spouse, it's really fascinating. And we really can learn a lot from our seniors, and we really need to spend more time listening. So I'm glad you're able to do that and have the time to do so. Let's talk about, obviously you're in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, so you offer home care services.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to get into now, because obviously we are living in the COVID world, and everyone in long-term care has the need to respond to the needs of the individuals we serve, our seniors and their caregivers, loved ones. So how has the coronavirus impacted the services you're providing? And what changes have you had to make?
Sure. So, I mean, first and foremost, we're seeing that seniors already being home are having loneliness, isolation, and depression regularly. So, I think with the pandemic, we need to be more sensitive that this is affecting them even more so because their own loved ones that could visit before can no longer visit, or maybe they're self-isolating, or they're afraid that they're going to get mom and dad sick. So we've tried to kind of change our services to step in from a companionship standpoint as well as personal care. So getting back to that, listening to their stories and being there for them as a companion and a friend goes a long way to help them cure their isolation and their depression that they could be, having right now with quarantine. So that's one piece that we've tried to really start implementing more so than ever before with a care plan, to really be there for them emotionally, not just to run them through their daily tasks, but to take the time to make sure that they're okay mentally. And like we've seen, it's changing so much with protocols and policies. So our hand washing, the PPE, temperature taking before shifts, all these things that are new to us to implement, to remind our caregivers so that we can keep both our caregivers and our clients safe. So that really all goes a long way too. So we really want to make sure that we're stepping in and maybe helping out with just a few easy things. So we created a program called Wellness Watch. It really allows us to almost work per diem. So there's no long-term contract where someone has to sign in long-term to, commit to needing us 3 days a week, 3 hours per shift. This allows us to call them when they need us. And then we can come out and take the place of that absent family member that might be self-quarantining, just to maybe do one task this week. Maybe they just need us to run to the grocery store, or to, hang out with them at home and, check on things, make sure they took their medications. So we created a program for that, as well as a specific grocery program, because, seniors are a little afraid right now to be grocery shopping and running errands. So we can take that burden from them without having them to have to sign into a long-term agreement, just temporarily while they might not have a loved one there. So we've been trying to change our programs to implement, and where we see fit, new things that our clients might need from us in this new climate.
I think we're all adapting, and it's interesting. So yes, I think one of the issues you mentioned, two of the big issues that I think our clients and your patients are dealing with, related to the current situation, and that's social isolation,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly even food insecurities, where you're right. Should an 85-year-old, even if they're capable of driving or walking to the local Wawa or driving to the supermarket, should they be?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure they should be.
Right. Agreed.
That your services are available, I guess, to act even more of a senior concierge type of service.
Exactly.
At
Mm-hmm.
that point. So I think it's all interesting how we all had to adapt our services, that were our service menu, so to speak, to the current realities.
Right.
So go on.
And I think you would even agree with me, that we're all used to meeting in person, right? So we're used to going to facilities in person and doing care plans in person and getting eyes on our clients. So we've had to come up with ways that we can do, Google video and Zoom calls to be able to see these new clients face to face, because we can't be in the facilities to get our eyes on them and to meet with social workers about a discharge plan. That's all now virtual too. So that's changing, every day, even down to, like we talked about, CEU seminars and information, getting out presentations to caregivers and professionals alike. That all is very important, of how we're going to provide that virtually too.
Right. So that following up on that comment, let's talk about the future then. We're only in possibly the first half of the coronavirus epidemic. We probably have not even hit halftime yet, so to speak, unfortunately. So what do you see the future of home care? What do you see the future of the services that senior helpers provides moving forward, even in a no COVID-19 environment? In other words, what type of programs that you're doing now, whether it's the more of electronic communication, that you can see remaining in place? And what do you see the future of home care in relation to where we are today?
Right. So I think that, like you said, we're already seeing the convenience of virtual meetings. So, and the drive time that we're saving, that we used to drive from place to place to meet with different families here and there, we can do more in a short period of time if we're doing it remote. So that's definitely saving some time. You're not getting that personal one-on-one, but you are able to do more in a shorter period of time to be able to help more people quick and more quickly as well. I think from a caregiving perspective, we're seeing more of a need for in-person care than ever before, because sometimes people are now trying to not go to the hospital, avoid rehab, avoid facilities, stay home. And that might mean having more hands and eyes on them to keep them safe from falls and hospital prevention. So, we're trying to do our best to increase care for folks that might have had family members coming in that can't come in now, or that otherwise might have gone to rehab and are coming right home from the hospital needing more care because they didn't get that rehab time. So that's what we're seeing right now in real time. I'd imagine that's going to continue as we continue through this journey day by day. But we're going to continue to still need that in-person caregiver in the home or in a community, wherever their home is, ongoing. That's not going to change. It's just going to be a matter of how we're going to adapt to it and what it's going to look like. Even already to go in facilities where we have clients needing caregivers to do one-on-one, for instance, like in independent living. Now those caregivers are needing different credentials and testing in order to get into the facility. So we just have to change with the times and adapt to whatever we're being asked to provide in order to still provide that level of care now more than ever to the residents and facilities. So it definitely is day by day and ongoing, and it's going to change, the landscape of what we all do every day.
What do you miss most about how things were? What do
Sure.
now, whether it's your professional colleagues, whether from senior helpers or seeing people like me on a weekly, monthly basis, or your caregivers that you see, what do you miss most about that personal touch?
Our old life, right? I think definitely the personal touch, it was underestimated now that we don't have it anymore. So, being able to see someone and not just text them or call them. So a lot of the social workers that I would see weekly for updates on our discharges, now that's all in email and it's all in text message. Last week, I actually dropped off some treats for Nurses Week, and I was able to see some old familiar faces, and it felt so amazing to have a connection with them and to tell them I miss them and hear that they missed seeing me too. So that really went a long way. I think it's just so many things that we all really took for granted with the way that it was before, now that we don't have them anymore. And I think it's also going to be interesting to reemerge ourselves into our old lives with all of these new precautions and concerns that we're going to have. Like you said, it's going to last a long time, and how are we going to go back to what it was before? What's that going to look like? But definitely I miss all of the professionals, and I miss seeing all of my future clients. I was doing a lot of the care plans and signing on our clients in facilities. And like I told you, I love listening to their stories and hearing them reminisce and getting to know them. And that piece is definitely missing right now. I'm working more with their families, and I'm looking at face sheets, and I'm talking to people remotely. And even if it is virtual, if it is face-to-face, it's still not the same as it was in person. And I'm also finding it harder to draw conclusions on how I feel about a potential client. So if I'm doing their care plan, you look around the room and you would notice they use a walker, she wears glasses. Now these are things that you're having to ask a lot more questions to get the same information that you could draw from your own conclusions before. So it's definitely interesting and a lot to be missed.
Right. I think same thing to a certain extent, although obviously we're offering different services, we're still servicing seniors. And having them come to meet them outside of their home, or even if you're doing a conference call or a Zoom meeting at their home, it's one thing to talk to them and see them in an electronic format.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different seeing them in their own environment where you
Right.
can't pick up on cues. They may be saying everything's doing fine and the house
Right.
is neat, there's no tripping hazards, but if you look behind them, you go into the home, they're a hoarder. And,
Right.
and same thing with us. I mean, one of the concerns I have with only electronic communication right now, are they subject to some form of exploitation?
Mm-hmm.
Who's sitting next to them, kind of coaching them along?
True.
You don't know. So, I mean, you can't solve every risk. I mean, you do the best you can given the circumstances.
Right.
I mean,
That's
it
what we're
does
all
have
trying
its
to do.
advantages. Now you're able, as you said, you're able to communicate with more people, without traveling and saving time, and maybe expanding your footprint, so to speak. So there's good and bad that comes from it, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully the good in the end will outweigh what the bad may
Right.
be to get. But before we end, let me tell you this. Tell me something I don't know. In other words, whoever's watching or listening to this, hopefully there'll be more than maybe your mother or father, but tell me or your kids. So tell me something that people don't know about you. What would people not know about you without getting maybe too personal? Tell me something that most people wouldn't know about.
About me as a person?
Yeah.
Good question. Well, my hobbies include the beach and exercise. So I've actually really been personally suffering by not having my gym open during all of this. So I've been working out in my garage every day, and it's getting hot out there. So it's going to be interesting soon if my gym doesn't open back up again.
Right, but you can open the garage door though, right?
Yeah, well, they are open, yes, but it
Okay.
gets steamy and it's humid.
Yeah. Well,
So we're doing a lot of running and then a lot of weightlifting in the garage, but we do CrossFit. So we have a lot of equipment, thankfully already. We have always had it, but now I'm just missing that atmosphere of being around other people and having them push you and not just trying to find your own inner motivation every day to do it by yourself.
right. Especially if you do like a group workouts. I guess you kind of thrive off of, I don't know
You
if you
push
want to
yourself harder because they're
competitive
pushing.
nature, but
Yep.
when it's peer pressure to a certain extent that people push you along, right?
Yep. Right.
So,
Now I'm just standing there in my garage like, I don't want to do this anymore. Who cares? No one can see me. So it's different. But yeah, I miss going to the gym.
I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm on a regimented schedule, I'm most productive.
Yes.
So now I've been working, I'm waking up a little later.
Right.
Because I don't have, early morning meetings or running to somewhere at 7:30 in the morning.
Yep.
So there's both good and bad in that. So
yeah.
I thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. Hopefully we will see each other. I don't know exactly when.
For some point.
Or someone from my office in the not too distant future. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
You do every day helping seniors and advocating for seniors. We look forward to partnering on future events with you and Senior Helpers. You're a great advocate, and it was a pleasure hearing more about what you do every day.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you as well.
All right. Thank you once again.